Alright my friends, welcome to video lesson number 5. In this lesson we're going to be discussing how to cut down an interview soundbite to an optimal length to more effectively deliver a clear, concise point. So let's get started. So you can see I've already built my interview project here. I've got my sequence already created and named here, and I've also already imported my media, and I have a sub bin in media here called interview where I have my two full-length interview chunks that I will be pulling bytes from, and then I also have some music in my MX folder. So for the first part of the byte, I'm going to go to the first interview chunk here, open that up in the source monitor, and to around 123.06 here, and you can hear me ask the question and the subject respond. Can you describe what acupuncture is for those who may not know?
Okay, so simply...
Okay, so I don't want to have the okay in there, and I really don't want to have the so in there either. So I'm going to place my endpoint right where he says simply. So I'm going to play back. Hone in on that exact point.
Okay, so
I'm going to use my arrow keys now to get to the beginning of the S of simply. Right there. There it is. That's my endpoint.
Simply, acupuncture is a natural method to reduce pain and increase blood circulation and improve your immune system.
And that's the end of that portion of the byte right there. So I'm going to edit that down. I've got V1 patched to V1, A1 to A1, and I'm going to place my endpoint in the timeline here, hit my period key to overwrite edit, and place that first part of the byte into the timeline. Okay, so I'm going to continue constructing here, placing an endpoint right after that byte. I'm going to go to the second interview chunk where he answers the same question again, but he gives some additional information, and I like part of that answer as well. So what I'm going to do is take some pieces of that and build them onto the end of this byte to create an overall coherent point. All right, so let's go to where that one is. What acupuncture is for those who may not know.
Okay, sure. It's a natural...
Okay, I'm going to start with it's a, not okay, sure.
Okay, sure. It's a natural method which we use needles, which does not contain any chemicals. And we use the needles to reduce pain, increase blood circulation, and improve your immune system to make you feel better overall.
Okay, that's great. So I'm going to tack that onto the end of this byte, and then I'm going to do some cutting in the timeline to make things even better. All right, so let's see what we have here.
Simply, acupuncture is a natural method to reduce pain and increase blood circulation and improve your immune system. It's a natural method which we use needles.
Okay, so you can hear there's already some repetition here. He says natural method in this byte.
Acupuncture is a natural method.
And then he says it again in this one.
Natural method.
Okay, and then he also says
to reduce pain.
Reduce pain.
And increase blood circulation.
Increase blood circulation.
And improve your immune system.
Improve your immune system.
And we use the needles to reduce pain.
Reduce pain again.
Increase blood circulation and improve your immune system too.
Okay, so there's repetition there as well. So I'm going to get rid of the repetition at the beginning here.
It's a natural method.
And I'm going to start with which we use needles. So I'm going to expand a little bit here, zoom in a bit.
It's a natural method.
And use my arrow keys to get right in between where he says method and which. Right there. And I'm going to cut. Zoom back out a little bit. Go back to my selection tool. And I'm going to use Shift Delete to ripple delete. Close that gap up there. Now we've eliminated that repetition. And then I'm going to go to the first byte, and I'm going to get rid of where he says this list of 3 things that is again repeated in the second byte.
To reduce pain.
Okay.
We use needles, which does not contain any chemicals. And we use the needles to reduce pain.
Okay, so I'm going to say
Natural method,
right after natural method, he's going to start with
which we use
needles. Okay?
method.
Before he says two. There's the two. So I'm going to cut that. And I'm going to get rid of all of this. Again, selecting it and using Shift Delete to delete and close the gap all in one. There we go.
Is
So let's listen.
a natural method, which we use needles, which does not contain any chemicals.
I want to get rid of the there. I'm going to cut that out as well. Zoom in a little more. And go with my razor tool here. And right before he starts speaking again,
And we
right here. Back to the selection tool. Again, triple delete, shift delete.
any chemicals, and we use the needles to reduce pain.
Nice. Remove that and it's really indetectable. If you turn off the video track and just listen to him, you don't even notice that there's a cut.
Any chemicals, and we use the needles to reduce pain.
Nice.
Increase blood circulation and improve your immune system to make you feel better overall.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so between the first part and the second part here, I think there's kind of a noticeable cut. Let's listen.
Method, which
Yeah, you hear something in there, and I think it's a little bit of movement in the background. Yeah, so what I'm going to try and do is reduce the noticeability of the cut here. So these clips are linked right now. When I select the video, I get the audio selected with it. And if I want to put a transition on this cut point here, if I do my normal method of right-clicking and choosing Apply Default Transitions, you can see that I get one on the video and the audio, and I don't want that. So I'm going to undo it, and I'm going to use a modifier key, the Option key, when I select the cut point, and I only get one when I do that. Now I'm going to right-click, Apply Default Transitions. I get my constant power crossfade, and I think this is too long. It's 10 frames right now. I'm going to reduce it to 2. Hit OK, and I'm going to change the alignment so that this outgoing clip here actually bleeds over onto this clip that has the noise in the beginning to try and soften that noise, to try and reduce the noticeability of that noise. Let's see if that worked. Nope, I think there's a little bit of the outgoing clip that has some speaking on it in that transition, so I'm going to reduce the amount I'm going to use here and close this gap. And try the same thing again. Gotta hit my Option key and Apply Default Transitions. Change that to a length of 2. Pull it over. Try again.
Okay,
I'm still getting a little bit of noise, so now I'm going to try and take a little bit off the clip coming in here. Close the gap, try the same thing again. This takes a little bit of trial and error, quite often, dialogue editing. All right. Oh, that's better. That's definitely better. Okay, so let's turn him off again and just listen.
Natural method, which we use needles,
That's great. That's really reduced a lot, and when we add music, it'll be almost totally unnoticeable. And if you're not looking for it, you won't even know it's there. All right, great. So what we've done now is combined 2 different answerings of the same question from 2 different interview clips into one coherent soundbite that is about 18 seconds long, you can see here. That's great. That is a wonderful length for a soundbite. You're trying to get between 15 and 30 seconds most of the time. So this achieves that nicely. So now what I want to do is use this as the first soundbite in my interview. So what I want is to have an open with music occur, a nice little montage, and then lead into this soundbite as the introduction to the subject of the interview. So in order to have an open, I'm going to need some space at the beginning of my timeline. And I'm going to go with about 10 seconds based on the music that I chose and how it starts out. So I'm going to select the entire grouping of clips that makes my soundbite and move it down in the timeline about 10 seconds. So with them selected, I'm going to type on the numeric keypad plus, and you can see the timeline knows that I'm entering time-related placement data here, and I'm going to go with 1000, which it interprets as 10 seconds, 10:00. Hit enter, and it moves my soundbite grouping down to the 10-second mark. Now I've got space at the beginning to do my opening montage. All right, great. So now I'm going to get my music. Double click on that, bring it up in the source monitor, and you can see, judging by the size of the waveform, it is quite loud. If I go to the really strong portion of the song here and hit play, you can see, I mean, it's peaking it right at 0 there. So I want to reduce the gain strength of this audio, and we've done that before in the timeline, but we can also do it here in the source monitor. So with the source monitor active and the clip loaded, if I hit the G key and reduce the gain by -12, you can see I reduced the strength of my waveform. And now when I play, it peaks around -12. Perfect. All right, so I'm not going to set an in and an out point in this because I'm going to use the entire piece of music. So if I don't set an in or an out, Premiere interprets that as me wanting to use the whole thing. So I'm going to place my playhead at the beginning of my timeline, mark an in, and change my patching for A1 to A2 so that I get my music on the second track here below where my interview subject is speaking, and do an overwrite edit. Hit the home key to go back home, and you can see I've got my music placed in the timeline now. So I'm going to play through and listen to the music intro, and then the subject come in speaking.
Simply, acupuncture is a natural.
Okay, so when he starts speaking, the music is too strong. And actually in the beginning here, it's a little too soft. So I'm gonna have to do some keyframing to fix this situation. So what I wanna do is have the music dip down right before he begins speaking so that it smoothly dips under as he starts to speak. So I'm gonna use some keyframes to accomplish that. So about 1.5 seconds before he starts speaking, I'm gonna place a keyframe, grabbing my pen tool with the P key and placing a keyframe here. And then about the same amount of time after he begins speaking, 1.5 seconds, I'm gonna place another keyframe, and I'm gonna pull that one down to about, I don't know, -15 or so. Let's try that and see if that works. Play through.
Simply, acupuncture is a natural method.
Nice. Dips down rather smoothly there. But at the beginning, it's still a little bit soft. You can see it's peaking at around -18. So I'm going to bring that up a little bit. I'm going to place a keyframe right about here, about 1 second, 1.5 seconds before my dip starts, and raise it up 2 or 3 dB. So we get some more strength on the beginning here on those nice little pulses. Play through now and listen to the whole thing. Starts to dip.
Simply, acupuncture is a natural.
Nice. And you can hear my interview subject's voice sort of takes over the music. As it's dipping, he comes in, and it's almost like he's causing that to happen just by speaking. And that's the kind of effect you want, because that is almost imperceptible to the viewer. Instead of their attention being drawn to the music, it shifts without them really even realizing it to the interview subject. And that's the dynamic you want to try and achieve with this music dip at the beginning. Okay, so now what I want to do is go to the end of his soundbite where he finishes speaking, and I want to ramp the music up as he finishes speaking in preparation for my next little montage, which will serve as a transitionary interlude into his second soundbite. Now, I notice here, looking at the waveform, that these two pieces that I tacked on after the first part of the soundbite are a little bit weaker. You can see that their waveform is a little bit lower, so I'm going to raise them by just a couple dB here, using gain once again, making that waveform a little bit stronger so that it's a little more balanced with the first part of the soundbite. And now, if we listen to him finishing his thought, you can see where it would be appropriate to ramp the music up
and improve your immune system to make you feel better overall.
Okay, so we're going to go with the same method here, about 1.5 seconds before he finishes speaking. So right around here, I'm going to place a keyframe and then ramp it up so that about 1.5 seconds, second and a half after he finishes speaking, we're back right around 0 there. Now let's play through and listen to that.
And improve your immune system to make you feel better overall.
Nice. So you can see, if I zoom out here, that we've got room for a montage at the beginning here. Our music is higher and it ramps down as our subject begins to speak, serves as a nice bed underneath him while he's speaking, and then ramps up again towards the end of his soundbite, right as he's finishing his thought, in preparation for the montage that is going to serve as a transition into his next soundbite, which will start something like 5 to 10 seconds later. So this is what I refer to as the ebb and flow of the music throughout your interview project, underneath and in between each of your sound bites that you string together to tell your story. So to construct this sound bite, I used the 3-point editing method that we've used in a few different situations in the class thus far. But there is another way to do this that I want to show you. So what I'm going to do is right-click on my sequence here, duplicate it, open that sequence up, and get rid of everything that's in it. I'm just going to lasso select, use the large delete key to get rid of everything, move my playhead home, and load my longer interview clip into the source monitor. You can see that if I remove my in and out here, it's about almost 29 minutes long. So I'm going to edit that whole thing into the timeline right now, patching A1 to A1, V1 to V1, marking my in. I don't need an in and an out in my source because I'm going to use the whole thing. Edit that down. And using the backslash key, you can see I've got the entire thing in here, almost 29 minutes long. So what I can do is go through in the timeline and find sound bites that I like, or portions of sound bites that I like, and cut them with my razor tool. And as I do that, I can go back to my selection tool and raise that soundbite up. Okay, so the video portion of that is now on video track 2. Doesn't affect the audio down here because it can't go over the video barrier. But I'm going to continue through my interview clip here, just finding pieces that I like. Obviously, I would be listening to these, but for the purpose of the demo here, I just want to show you what it would end up looking like here. Cutting, 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 finding the pieces that I like all the way through. Okay, and going back with my selection tool and raising those pieces up. I can also select multiple pieces at once. Okay, and raise those all up at the same time. So now I have just the pieces that I like raised up on video track 2. So what I'm going to do now is lasso and select all the pieces that I don't want on video track 1, and you can see because they're linked, it selects the audio component as well. And now I'm going to use our friend, the ripple delete, shift delete, to get rid of those pieces and leave only the sound bites that I like. Drop those back down to video track 1. And look at that. That's a neat little trick. So that's an alternative to 3-point style soundbite construction. Now, obviously, I would go through and do my more finite soundbite preparation, just like I did in the other timeline that we were already working in. Then I would move my soundbites down in my sequence to create space for my music to ebb and flow in between each one of them so that I could effectively construct my story and have nice little montage transitions in between. So that's an alternative method. Alrighty, my friends, that about does it for video lesson number 5. I'll see you again for video lesson number 6.